Well, it's week 16, that's right. Yeah. Is it? Yes. We got off to a really interesting start. We've had a strong frost overnight and yeah, all these nice ferns that I potted up at the day before yesterday, and they've all been clobbered. Look at that. Just buggered young growth. That's really quite annoying. Even the ones that are waiting to be potted on. These lovely little golden ferns hidden away here in the shade. The compost is still absolutely solid. So I'm going to have to check the irrigation and see if we've had any damage. It's quite a hefty frost this. These ferns were looking lovely last week. But there you are. I don't mind that. Well, it's not that I don't mind it. It's a natural event. It happens. Cope with that. Well, who would have thought it? Irrigation, frost, broken pipe, toolkit, and lots of hot water. I sound like a fucking midwife. Lord help us. The Royal Horticultural Society have said we are in crisis. The industry is lacking youngsters coming through. This is Eggleston Hall Gardens, and over the next 12 months we're going to take you on a journey of what it's like to run a nursery garden. Any of you out there that like irrigation, you're going to love this. You can see I've got a crack in the pipe all the way along. So this is a manifold I rigged up myself. You can actually buy ready-made ones, but this is one from years ago which I'm going to try and adapt. You put these bushes in, it's just like to reduce the thread to the thread size that we want there. So I'm going to try and just use that one for now. But to do that, I have to take off this connector, which is the inlet, and this is the outlet with a tap on. Now, obviously, I've got about 4 or 5 outlets on there, so I need to cap off 3 or 4 of them. But that's the job. So I need to undo this nut here, undo this one here. I hope you're not getting too excited by this. You know, I don't want to. You know, this is like geeky porn. Right, there we go. I'll come back to you in a minute because I can't hold the camera and play with me irrigation pipes. Are you coming with me? He's going to sit there like king of the bloody castle. Come on then. The weeping Cercidophyllum has also been hit by the frost. You know, this happens some years, and you can always tell when it happens because it releases these scents, the scents that you get in the autumn, burnt sugar. And the whole garden at the moment, this top half of the garden, that's not the whole garden, is it? But anyway, the top half of the garden, you just keep getting these big wafts of burnt sugar. It's absolutely lovely. You think somebody's cooking jam nearby, but no, it's this. You come and stick your beak on this and it pongs like hell. Really strong, powerful scent. It will get through. I mean, the leaves will come back. If we look at these leaf axils here, there'll be young leaves in the corner of those. It happens when you have a warm spell and things start moving, and then all of a sudden you get a really -4 frost like last night. -4 is not a lot, really. I know a lot of people watch these films, they live in America, well, they get proper frosts out there. But for us, especially after a warm spell, it's a bit of a drag. These little beauties are Erythronium pagoda. It's a Japanese type of dogtooth violet. The mottling on the leaves is very faint. You can just make it out. Much bigger leaves, more kipper shaped. There's probably a horticultural name for that, but it's gone out my head. Like a lot of things. And it's nice. It's a lovely thing, and it flowers for a long period early on, and it adds a little bit of brightness. It's nice. It's easy to grow. You can grow it under shrubs and trees, or semi-shade, or even full shade. Smashing little plant. Feeding the birds. It costs me £50–60 a week here. I figure it's well, I just like seeing them, and then they repay you by pulling out all this crap. Look at it. I know I can go on about it, but it's driving me crackers. And then you get these young women in here with long heels. They get their heels stuck down the crack in the pavement there. Look at that. Look. See them off, Pepper. You sort them out. There's another one. See, I keep walking past them. I've been walking past them for 25 years near on, and I don't even know they're there. I even got no mud on there. You know, earlier in the year I showed you something called the spring snowflake, Lithyrus vernus. A pretty little thing with little golden petals. Well, golden, greeny, yellowy coloured. Yeah, look at that. Now this is its bigger cousin. This is Lithyrus astevium. Now I like the flower of this plant, but the plant itself, to me, is one of them things that's completely out of balance. It's about 2 foot tall. Now I can see if you planted it through other things, and if you were a garden designer, you might find a use for it. I don't get me wrong, I like the plant. I mean, the flower is beautiful, but to me, it's a plant that's out of balance. It's just too much stem, too much leaf for the little pissy, but albeit beautiful. I'm trying to be even-handed here. I just don't like it. That's not to say I don't sell loads of them. I sell quite a lot of them, actually. But there's all that bloody foliage. I don't tell or show people this one if I can help it. I just tell them it's a really nice plant, beautiful flower, strong grower. Oh, I'm feeling guilty now. I'm feeling like a hypocrite. I am a hypocrite. I'm going home. Now, if you said you wanted a little ground cover plant, a pretty little thing, it grows under a tree or somewhere where nothing else would grow, and I said to you, Agapodium podagraria variegata, you'd be suitably impressed. If I said variegated ground elder, you'd probably shit yourself. I would. You don't want ground elder in your garden. However, bear with my stupidity. This is the variegated ground elder. If you look at the leaf, it's actually really quite nice. The old flower ranges, the old foliage ferrets, they love this stuff. I don't know why, they do all sorts of weird things. It doesn't get out of hand like ordinary ground elder. This clump's been here 20 odd years. Admittedly, we nip a few lumps of it off now and again, but it behaves itself, and it is actually a really difficult place here at the base of this bloody great big beech tree. There you are, variegated ground elder. I don't charge a lot for it, about £5 a pot. Sorry. I should have gone home after the lycodium. Now, this is an interesting little plant. Let's see if I can get this nearer the camera. This is Dactylorhiza fuchsii. It's a type of marsh orchid, and it lends itself. We're lucky because some years ago I planted some or kept some pots rather, and they seeded themselves around, and they pop up in all sorts of unusual places, and they divide off really nicely. A lot of people have a lot of difficulty with them, but I'm not having that much difficulty at all. But they're really nice. They come up in spikes of flower. It's a hardy field or marsh orchid. It has these lovely spotted leaves. So I'm just going to separate these off. This is here is one of last year's pots. It's that the flowers are quite nice spikes of pink, but look at that, the leaf on that, the mottling on the leaf is quite interesting. It's a beautiful thing. So now I need to keep all of this old compost, so we'll just push that up to the end there. We'll stick that in a new bin in a minute. So I just want to take this, I'm going to sort this big one out as well. As with all my stuff, just, if you can, prize it apart when dividing things. Don't go cutting it if you can help it. If you can just tease the roots out apart, and it's much better. Look at that. Oh, look at that, it's just falling apart. There's another one. There's another one there. And another one bites the dust. And another one. And another one. There you are. And there's a nice larger one there. Beautiful. I think I might mix a bit of the old compost in with that one. There. They sort of like that. There is a tip for making them break out a little bit more. Sometimes I shouldn't be saying this because it's a secret one really, but you can just damage the roots a little bit, or the main root, and you find that they separate out. But we won't go into that. We'll do that another day. So there you are. dactylarizer, and I'm just going to pop those into some smaller pots. Just square 9s, I think. In they go. In there. It doesn't take very long. You don't want to be over potting them. I have several hundred, almost 1,000 ferns to do, and these ferns just need moving up. So what I'm doing is just taking the fern out, scraping off the shoulder, get rid of any sort of weed seeds and things and algae and liverwort, and then I'm putting it in these containers. Now we're in times of where we need to sort of look after things and maybe grow a few vegetables and stuff, so we would normally chuck these on the borders or over the tip. And what I'm going to do this year is I'm actually going to use this old potting compost. I'll probably put about a 2 or 3 inch casing of ordinary compost on the top, but there's no reason why you shouldn't be able to grow broad beans, carrots, parsnips or anything in these containers. I know there's plenty online about doing things in containers, but when I was a youngster, we used to grow things in containers or in cold frames, very high cold frames that were full of leaf mould, and we would put a few inches of molehills or something on the top and then grow things in there. With carrots and parsnips, they used to go right down into the leaf mould and you get these lovely clean long carrots. So we can adapt that maybe. So we'll try a few experiments this year. So what I'm going to do is put all of those, it's the end of the day, I'm going to put all of those floor sweepings and all of these bench sweepings into the top of this pot of old soil, old compost. You could actually use anything really. You know, like spent mushroom compost, you can buy that. Leaf mould is very good, as I've already said. You know, old pots, when you're chucking out here, we're chucking out old pots over here. There's some of our cuttings that have died. I'll just pull the weeds out of those, stick them in a bin, and then we'll see what we can grow out of this old compost, because we chuck it away and over the course of the year you at home might get pots of old plants that have died. Just keep it all. It's just a substrate for growing stuff in. If you put 2 or 3 inches of good stuff on the top, you should get enough nutrition on that for a good load of vegetables. We'll see how it goes anyway. I might be talking out my arse. We'll find out. So there we are. That's a little bit, only about an inch or 2 of bench sweepings on the top. All the rest is old potting compost. We'll put that outside now just to settle. I'm saying that like it's something technical. The only reason I'm actually doing that is because the seed hasn't arrived yet. This is a little thing we used to do when we were sowing seeds. Sometimes if you sow seed in a drill, or if you broadcast sow it, broadcast means you spread it about. It's very hard with a lot of seed, like particularly fine seed on a pot, or vegetable seeds, carrots outside, that sort of thing. It's hard to see where you've actually sown them. So what we used to do was use a couple of hammers and some brick and just break down some old crocks, some old terracotta. could use brick dust or anything like that. And it's just to create a fine dust. You can of course use silver sand and other sands, but I find the seed often sticks to those. Whereas with some nice dry brick dust or pot dust, you imagine this is the soil surface. If you have seed that is the same colour, it's an absolute pain in the arse. So what we would do is get some of this and mix our seed in with it, get it all mixed around, and then spread it around on the top of your pot. And you can see then where you're spreading stuff. We're going to be doing this probably next week with some carrots. But it gives you a much more even, and you know where you've been. Some people, when you sow seed, some people like to sow it out their crack. Not the crack of their hand, that is. And you would just sow it like this. Yeah, usually along drills, that sort of thing. But people have different methods, but mixing it with brick dust or with silver sand has always been really useful, as you will see. Okay, so what we're going to do here, this is a carrot called Early Scarlet Horn. It's an old variety. It's not an F1 hybrid, it's just a straightforward, been around for donkey's years carrot. One of the things that's quite useful to know is how to save seed from carrots. Most people think that you just go to the seed merchants, which is fine, you can do that, but supposing the seed merchants aren't working or there's a run on seeds as there is recently, it's always useful to know how to produce carrot seeds. We'll go into it later, but effectively you need to grow some carrots and you need to grow them into the second year. So you grow them through this year, and then when they refoliate again next year, they will throw up seed flowers. So we're taking about 1/3 of the packet, and I'm going to mix it in with some of the brick dust. So I'm just going to zip that round. We don't want to sow too thickly. The good thing about sowing in containers is that they're going to be raised up off the ground. Now there's a little pest, that you've probably seen it on the internet, there's a little pest called carrot root fly. Now it flies along the ground, or just above the ground, at about 12 inches. So in a container like this, there, you can see now, we can get a nice even spread, and we can see where we've been. It's very easy when you're doing dark areas of ground to think, whoa, have I put any seed over there? So these just act as indicators. A lot of the fertilizers now, the slow release fertilizers, they last for there's various formulations of it, and some last for 2 months, some last for 6 months, some last for 12 months, and they have indicators in them, little coloured pellets. So that the blue one that we use lasts about 8 months. It's a very similar process to that, but you can see you can get a nice even spread, and you can see where you've been, so you're not re-sowing onto the same ground. You don't have to do it this way, but I find it quite useful. I'm just going to get a little bit of compost. And you can see that's a nice even spread there. And I'm just going to put about 1/4 inch, 1/2 inch of compost over the top of this. I don't want to get too nippy-arsed about it. You just spread it over. Now, the old way is to do, you could do it in drills. You could just run your finger along and sow some seed up there, 3 or 4 inches apart, sow some seed up there. But I like to do this broadcast method. Sounds like contraception, doesn't it? I'm going to do the broadcast method. sow your seed upon the surface. Anyway, there we go. So that's all we're going to do, and just water that in. I'm going to just pummel it down a little bit with the back of your hand, and we'll come back to that in a couple of weeks, and they should have germinated fine. If they haven't, I'm going to look at the tosser, aren't I? I'm just going to put some water on this. Just settle them in. You don't want that surface drying out until the roots have formed, or the leaves have formed, because and then we'll keep it slightly on the drier side on the surface to encourage the carrots to search for moisture. And as the root searches for moisture, it goes further, bigger roots. You can't overwater things. That's it. We'll get back to those. Make sure, make clear I wasn't idly waffling, which I'm prone to do. This is some of our fertilizer. It's an Osmocote Exact. We use a lot of it in containerized plants, and you can see it has indicator pellets in it, blue ones. So using an indicator, albeit brick dust, silver sand, or coloured pellets, for even if it's for different reasons, is very useful. Well, I think so anyway. I can't remember what day it is, let alone where I've sown seed on a dark surface. Also, going back to that, I've lost count of the number of times people have come back to me and said, "Oh, look, your compost has got eggs in it, spiders' eggs, slugs' eggs." And in actual fact, very often you'll find that it's just the fertilizer. Our compost, the chap that uses our compost uses an orange indicator. It's a slightly different formulation that we have there. But yeah, that's how it works. But just remember, when you buy a potted plant, you will sometimes see little balls. And they are not always pest eggs. They are slow release fertilizer. It's surprising the amount of people, and I'm talking about 100 or 200 a year. I get probably questions like that. But if you don't know, I mean, I'm not criticizing people. If you don't know, you don't know. We're not all nurserymen. What is it? Are you protecting my birthday cake? Are you? Are you making sure that nobody steals that birthday cake? You're so thoughtful. You're so thoughtful, aren't you? Are you coming to protect it as well? Yeah. Oh, that is just so, I just don't know. It's chocolate cake and you can't have chocolate cake.
Hello ladies and gentlemen, it's Thomas here reporting from the depths of Furlough. Malcolm has asked myself and some other people from the gardens just to carry on filming little snippets and sending them in to him so we can put on the videos, just to give people a little bit of something extra to watch and keep people posted with what we're all doing whilst we're not allowed into work and whilst the UK is on lockdown. So obviously these times lockdown can get really quite boring for people, not allowed to leave your homes. I myself have really struggled with the boredom of only having 300-400 acres to roam in these times. It's been really quite challenging, but yeah, so anyhow, it's on the farm, it's lambing time at this time of year, so hopefully there'll be some nice little bits of joy that I can help bring to people. And I will have to apologise now for some of the sound quality in my videos. Unlike Malcolm, I'm not blessed with having a muffler for my phone, and I'll secondly apologise for my appearance. We're in lockdown, I haven't shaved and my hair's greasy. And it's also although it is lambing time, so I'm not going to say it would be any different any other year. But yeah, I hope you enjoy whatever I film. Here we have it, ladies and gentlemen, and I've birth in action. She's scanned for having 2, and her first one is wandered off over there while she's laid down pinning out the second one. I'm just going to have to give her a helping hand, so I'm just going to hopefully stick the phone there and hope that it can see what's happening. If it doesn't, I am sorry. There I go. And off is it. Ideally I am right-handed, so this will be a bit different, but there's one leg, the other leg, just make sure there's plenty of room around the top of his head. In they go. Is he gonna come? Again, I'll just keep making room around the top of his head. There you go. Oh girl, you got to work with me. There we go. There we go. And just right. Alright, isn't it? Right, tuck your legs in, girlie. Get it. There you go. I'll go bring your second one back, your first one back to you. Now, lady. There we have it, Mummy sheep with her 2 little lambs. So what she has to do now is lick them to get them nice and clean and dry. They just do that as a predatory thing, so that out in the field, leaving it cleansing, or with the lambs being wet, the scent, it doesn't attract any predators to them. So she'll lick them and try and get them dry, and then, oh yeah, you see he's already trying to get up on his feet within a couple of minutes of being born. And then there's this one. I ain't your mother, fella. There he is. Alright then, missus. You ready to be let out? Come on. Come on, let's off your pop with them. There you go. Go on. So this sheep, she was inside because she was scanned for having 3 lambs. We managed to get a 3rd one mothered onto a little sheep who lost one, and now she's ready to come outside and join the rest. Majority of these sheep are lambed outside, just any like that sheep there where we scanned, we knew they're having 3, we bring them in just because, as you can imagine, a sheep having 3 lambs, she's got quite a lot to organise when she's trying to give birth. There's 3 heads and blooming 12 legs, so it takes a bit of doing getting them all coming right, so that's why we take the triplets in. The majority of these ones have lambed outside, these ones with their 2 lambs each, and it's nice to see them getting out Away then, you rabble, if you want feeding. You lot want, mate? Yes? Why are you sitting like that for, fatty? Well, you've already been fed once, but you know what's in my pocket, don't you? There you go. Yep, you're standing up, are you, fatso? Go on then. There you go. What? Don't chew me bloody fingers off. Yeah, blooming get pet, aren't you? There you go.
Wow, don't they make a lovely couple? Look at that lovely Amelanchier. Isn't that beautiful? Now, I have been asked on several occasions to go back over sweet peas. I did a video a few years ago. Got into a little bit of trouble for being rude on it, but never mind. Let's revisit it.
White, cream, pale blue and crimson.
Right. There's another one of them boot scrapers. Do you realise how many we have? Of these boot scrapers?
No.
They're all over the place.
Are they?
Yeah. Now I have been asked to go through how I do sweet peas, and I'll do it again if you're right, as long as I don't get any more comments, because last time, because I referred to the tendrils on the plants, I referred to these as growlers, like that stick out from below your bikini, and I'm very sorry for that, so I shan't refer to them as growlers again. In fact, I'll take them off, just like you do with growlers. Anyway, I thought we'd run through it again. What I'm doing is I've got a couple of bare patches. I've got sweet peas left over that I normally sell. Now these are gold medal winners. They're all top varieties, and I sow them in the autumn. So rather than getting like a little pot with a load of seedlings in right now, I'm getting a decent plant that I can plant now, and we'll get some early flowers from. It ain't hard. So I'm just making a couple of wigwams. I need to just use the space up really. So what I'm doing is making some pilot holes. Now, in the garden, one of the best tools that you can have is a bar. See that bar there? I can lever old posts out with it. I can make pilot holes for big posts, and rather than fannying around trying to push in canes into bare soil, you can make a pilot hole and they go in much better. You don't need to go in too far. You don't want to go to bloody Australia. It's full of fucking Australians. Nobody wants to go there. All they do is take the piss out of the ponds. Anyway, so we're going to make a rough circle of about 12 pilot holes. No, this ground hasn't been prepared. We weren't planning to do this. No, that's the wrong place. So we were just planning on selling them this year because they are quite labour intensive. But they do make a lovely display, and they have sort of benefits. You know, the old benefit of if your girlfriend takes a sniff of sweet peas and knickers fall off. It ain't true, it don't work. But we are still gonna make this wigwam. You see, I'm just going around here. Now, I don't know if I'm going to get 12 holes or not. It doesn't really matter. And if you're near to some plants, well, the sweet peas will get up there way beyond these. Then we'll put one in there, I think. That should roughly be a circle. It doesn't have to be exact one, because by the time the foliage has gone all over it. There. Now, this is quite a wide circle, so if you're on your own, I mean, normally you would tie the top off and it would actually be quite hard. But the best is to use the old faggot method of growing. Oh, in this country, faggots are bundles of wood. They have, or they're like meatballs that was made out of brains and offal and all sorts of arseholes and stuff that they don't want to eat. It's peasant food, really. So we're making a little knot in there with an eye in the end of this bit of tubing. It would normally be string or something you could use. And then you can just tie that there. And then go round here. It'd be really embarrassing if it was short, wouldn't it? Okay, so we'll undo that. That was lucky. We come round here, stick that end through there, and then you can gradually just work it up. It's like a lot of things. You can get quite a lot of satisfaction out of doing it on your own. Yeah, right, Thomas. And there you go. And you just run that up there, like that. And then tighten it through. There you go. And then you don't need to call anybody for assistance or out like that. I need to get off of here now because I'm going to be arse over it. So there you can see. We don't need to have all the sticky out bits at the top where it comes out here like this, because we're not going to take them up. Once they get near this top, what's going to happen is they're going to get quite congested, and we will probably unpick the sweet peas, drop them down and then start them back up again. But this is as good a way as any of doing it on your own. Just bind it well, tie that off. There we go. Now if you want something, you can put a little bit of wire around there if you want, if you're worried about you're in a really windy place, but I ain't gonna bother. And that should be, oh, it's rigid. solid. How does that look, cameraman? Right, now you can get down on there and you can trowel them in if you want, but I'm not going to. I'm just going to use a bulb planter here to make a hole. Shove that in there, twist that round, just get rid of that. And what I'm doing there, I'm just going to get a little bit of good compost in the bottom. That's a decent compost. Get your sweet pea, wang him in, turn him round, job done. So what we'll do is we'll put a dozen. That's just a bit of dock. I'll have him out in a minute. We'll put these round and just tie him in. Now, the way I like to tie things in, I'll just get a cane. Well, I can use this actually. A bit of wire here. You'll have seen this before. I think I've put it on another video, but it is a very, very good way of tying in some sweet peas. Okay, we're going to get that there. We're going to wrap this round and round and round like a teddy bear. One step, two step, round and round. There he goes. All right, push it together and then take that off of there. Now I've got an old pair of scissors here, and then we got that there. It's like a spring, a coiled spring, and then we're just going to, you'll use an old pair of scissors for this. And now you've got these little ties, so we'll just put them on there. Holds a sweet pea on beautifully. I'd probably want them a little bit wider, but to be honest with you, I usually use a broom handle, but I couldn't be bothered to go all the way down to the potting shed to get one. There you are. I'll do this, I'll come back to this when I've done a dozen. All right, you can bugger off now. Look at those little bastards. They're bloody laughing at us. There's bloody hundreds of them over there. Look, he knows I'm looking at him. He's even there to stop and have a scratch. Twat. I wonder if them dogs are doing their blooming job. Because it's hard enough keeping on top of vermin. Jesus Christ Almighty, God, lovers, what the hell are you doing there? You ain't exactly patrolling, are you? Oh, God. And what do you think you're doing? Sniffing around for something to eat? I expect Finn is in the kitchen asleep. We're going to start in a minute. Right. We just, this stream is, this trough is full up. It's full up in the bottom with silt. I'm going to have to empty it. Right, let's go and see how we've got on with these now. The thing is, we just need to water them in a little bit. And it's quite important. it's going to give them a bit of a drink, and that'll wash the compost, the soil around the roots a little bit. Now what you can see here, there's a couple of canes in the middle. And what I've done is put a couple of spares in the middle so that if one of these dies off or gets eaten, I can just pull the cane over there. Suppose this one was eaten, I can pull it over there, and then it's going to go up and sort itself out. I have a little bit of old compost left, so we can just chuck that round. It's not going to make much difference, but there's a bit of slow release fertilizer in it, and just makes it look a little bit tidier. There we are. Now the other one that I did afterwards, if you look up to the top of this one where I've bound it at the top, you can see the neck of the wigwam or the cone goes right the way up. Over here in the traditional way of doing it, like we used to do with run a bean things, you do it further down and then they come out up there. Well, this neck is much shorter down. Really, it's much better to bind them at the top rather than have them like that. Again, we're going to chuck some of this around. Years ago when I was a young man, I used to show sweet peas, and we would grow them in lines up a single cane. All the side shoots would be taken out, and I would spend maybe 6 months with a trench putting all sorts of compost and God knows or shit, anything in there that I could get my hands on just to show them. In those days I liked certificates and things, but for this purpose what we need is we've got some spare sweet peas and we just want some nice flowers, and this ground hasn't been prepared, but on a wigwam like this you don't want them getting too vigorous because you'll be forever tying them up. This is a perfect way of doing them, and you can see it's as rigid as anything. Anyway, we will come back to them. We'll come back to them through the summer, so if it doesn't work I'm going to look at Dick. Am I worried about that? Not the slightest. I'm more worried about what I'm having for tea. The trees on the wall, they are, well, we know they're over 100 years old, and they are restricted forms, and you can see some of them are dying out, have become gnarled and just old, buggered. But they've still, as you get to the outer reaches of them, they've still got life, and you can see the blossom. And there is what I would call a classic piece of apple blossom. Those beautiful shades that blend together of sort of, I don't know, ice cream, white and pink. They just are so beautiful. I get quite romantic about those colours. They just remind you of spring. Our blossom isn't fully out yet, but it's happening. We're a lot later than elsewhere in the country, certainly in the UK. Now here's a couple of plants I want to show you that have got through the winter really well. These are Eryngium. We've kept them on the drier side. This is a one called Eryngium Zabellii Big Blue. It has the most beautiful blue coloured bracts, absolutely wonderful. And then there's another one called Eryngium Zabellii Neptune's Gold, which has the same blue, maybe slightly paler, but not a great deal, but it has the benefit of this lovely gold foliage. Again, these have come through really well. Quite impressive, actually. And then up here is another pair of plants that are often confused. They have very similar flower heads, similar coloured anyway. This is Euphorbia palustris, and you can see it has these, it's quite tallish, and it has these lovely citrus blue bracts. These are fucking great clumps actually, in big pots, big lumps of it. Very large. Sorry, I've just walked up the hill, so I'm puffing and blowing like an old man. Well, I am an old man, but there you are. But this grows to about, oh, I don't know, just under 3 foot, I would say, something like that. 2.5 foot. But it's a nice thing, and it's this lovely clear colour. And then there is the other one, Euphorbia palustris. Now, sorry, Euphorbia. We've just looked at palustris, haven't we? Oh, bloody hell. Polychroma. This is Polychroma, much squatter. Now this is very squat, but normally it would grow to about a foot, 1.5 foot, something like that. About a bit less than half the height of the palustris. So yeah, this is the Polychroma. There is a purple leaf Polychroma, but I didn't rate it too much. But they are lovely, aren't they? I mean, what a lovely, fresh sort of citrusy yellow. I must stop saying yellow. Gold. Apparently saying gold is much more marketable. And then in here, I don't know if we looked at these last week, but possibly not. The marsh marigolds. I really love these. They grow on wet ground. This is the double form, Caltha palustris, plena or flora plena. Beautiful. Here's a bit of damp ground by an old pond or something, and it'll spread about. The single one will seed itself about as well, but never so much that it becomes a pain in the ass. And then there's old Mrs. Robbie Eyes Euphorbia. It's a fantastic evergreen. It grows under a tree. You can put it anywhere. You can grow it up the devil's ass. This is a Euphorbia Robbie. There, look at that. Beautiful, beautiful heads of flower. And this lovely evergreen foliage is quite strong. It's a bit of a walker. It spreads around a little bit. But yeah, that's a really, really good plant. I'm trying to think of something more interesting to say, but I can't. Actually, I've got to get up now. Oh God. The old Lysimachia Alexander. We've probably looked at this before, but let's just have another little look. It has a typical yellow loosestrife flowers, but it is this lovely early spring foliage as it comes through, these lovely young shoots. You can see it's actually prone here and there to a bit of reversion, these here, but you just nip them out, just pull them out, and it'll soon stop doing it. That's what we've found anyway. There. It just happens on the occasional one. It's very irritating actually. These old trees, these old conifer stumps that I cut back years ago now and put a bit of green plastic around. The clematis that grew up and are starting to really do well. This is Alpina called Pamela Jackman. Really nice. It's not quite out yet, but it's coming. And this is another Alpina on the next one along. This is Ruby. So I just cut them back, left the stumps there, put a bit of green plastic around them, and then grew some clematis up them. There's a Coriana there called Amber. And then there are some beautiful Montanas here, which we have to cut back sometimes because they get away. But we'll see those later on. We're starting to get that feel now of foliage. You know, it's starting to make us feel a bit more comforted and enclosed. The leaves are breaking and dappling the light. See, there's the old missus down there, see, making up orders. She likes doing that. What are you looking at? Bugger off. Are you going to be following me everywhere? Bugger. Look at that, isn't that beautiful? That is a flowering cherry called Chill's Weeping. Absolutely beautiful. Now, you'll have noticed there is nothing from Bartholomew's this week. That's because, well, yeah, I'm not put too fine a point on it. Their IT department is fucking useless. Absolutely useless. But you can't say anything. You can't say anything. They just need to get up with the times. I've tried telling them that, but no, they don't listen. Anyway, a couple of weeks back, he moaned like hell that I'd missed an important part of his process of sowing maples out. So I'll stick it in today.
Oh, I know, I don't really know what to say. Sorry, Malcolm.
Not much you can say, really. Now you pat them down, you don't need any whizzy tool, as you can see. The idea being that they are in firm contact with the soil.
Bang on.
Bang on.
You're quite right, Matthew. You don't need any of these modern fangled things. Any modern machinery and whiz bangs and things. There's nothing like the good old days, eh?